My name is Joe. These are just opinions. Welcome to Desert Island Playlist. This week, the band is Little Feat. I'm joined by Tristan from the Tristones out of New York City, both pretty big Little Feat fans. Tristan, how did you get into Little Feat?
Well, I grew up listening to it. My parents had all the records, got hip to it, digging in, mom and dad's record collection. Yeah, so it was always there. So I kind of always knew tunes like, Dixie Chicken and I think Let It Roll was always a big one, back in the 80s. But I would say like the first record that I really got into, like when I really started to pay attention to them was Time Loves a Hero. When I first got to college, I got a record player. This is a little bit back in like 2001 when CDs were still a big thing, but you could find a record player for pretty cheap, and like a decent Japanese record player for my wife's son. He got it for me for my birthday. Got me a record player and five records, and it was $25 for everything. And one of those records was Time Loves a Hero. That was like the first Little Feat record I actually sat down and listened to front to back and actually really noticed it, and it blew me away.
I got into Little Feat because of Tristan and his dad, who was a lifelong Little Feat fan. And a few years after that, it was around the time that I got into the band. So it would have been about 5 years after Tris got into Little Feat. Put it on my playlist. Right after I got into the band, I was like, you know what? I really need to know Little Feat. A playlist for work. I fell in love with probably Waiting for Columbus first, I'd say. Just the little lot, their live album. I think it was their biggest selling album. We'll kind of get into that a little bit as the episode goes on. So, Desert Island playlist, yeah, we're going to do draft style, 10 songs each. For Little Feat, nobody could pick the same song. We're off to our desert island. Yeah, so some of these are songs that you'd want to have on a desert island, or maybe they're just your favorite songs. There are other Little Feat episodes on this channel, Joepinionated. Check them out. Also, check out Tristan Clark, musician. He's got his album behind him there, Camaro, available on Wax as well, performing out of mostly around New York City. So, Desert Island playlist. Tristan's going to have the first pick, youngest, oldest. Yeah, so you get to pick your first song for your playlist. Trist, you're on the clock.
Round one. Round one.
I'm just gonna hit it out of the park and go with Spanish Moon. One of my favorite tunes is one of the tunes I like to play live with my band quite a bit. If you're in a band and you play Little Feat song, not that I'm gonna say it's an easier song, but it only has like a one chord vamp through the whole thing, so it makes it simple to teach the band on the spot, and everyone dances, and it's a fun vibe because Little Feat tunes can get pretty tricky. And I just found out this is the only one that was produced by Van Dyke's Parks. It's a Lowell George tune, but produced by Van Dyke's Parks. I actually met once. About 10 years ago, and he was a really nice
What?
guy.
Really? Where?
Yeah. I was playing when I was touring with this band called New Country Rehab. We were in LA, and we had about three gigs in LA. And one gig we played this, like, I feel like it was like a little coffee shop or like a little restaurant or something like that. It was supposed to be a showcase, and Van Dyke's Parks was invited to come see us play. I think there might have been five people in the audience, and Van Dyke's was there with one other dude and just like sat right in front of us and watched our whole set. And we'd finish a tune. He's like, "That's a good tune, man."
No
We ended
way.
up hanging out with him and talking with him for a bit. He was a super nice guy.
Wow. Did you bring up Little Feat? Probably
I
not.
don't think so. I gave him
Yeah.
one of my CDs. I remember that. I was like, "Hey, here's my record." He's like, "Oh, thanks, man. Really appreciate it." That's
That's
the last
super
I ever
cool.
heard from him.
Hey, man. Very cool. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Spanish Moon, definitely an early favorite. I think it's on Step Brothers, the movie Step Brothers. I'm pretty sure there's a scene where it's playing in the background. An LA band, Lowell and Roy Estrada were in Mothers of Invention. Frank sort of pushed Lowell out, said, you know, you're kind of a solo guy. Also, the fact that Lowell was into drinking and drugs wasn't really a Frank thing. And so there's a few different stories about how that breakup went down. Lowell's version was that he kicked them out for writing a song about weed. So I just go with Lowell's version. Estrada left the band after a couple albums and went with the Doobie Brothers, I think. Killer band out of LA. They did a bunch of albums throughout the 70s. Then they broke up. Lowell passed away just after that, and they reformed in 87 with Let It Roll and a couple other different singers throughout the years. So my first pick on this, I'm going to go with something a little bit more desert islandy, I guess. I mean, sort of. I guess that's sort of desert islandy too. I'm going to go with Sailing Shoes off the album Sailing Shoes from Little Feat. And I really love the slow breakdown on Waiting for Columbus. They do kind of a slower version of it. Lady in a Turban and a Cocaine Tree does her dance so rhythmically. It's just such a desert island song. Sailing Shoes. Put on your sailing shoes.
Round two. Round two.
My next on my list is High Roller, which is the first tune off Time Loves a Hero. Yeah, I remember that's a sort of very high energy funk tune written by Paul Barrere. But if I go back to like the first time I heard Time Loves a Hero, when that track first, that's the first track on the album. When that kicks in, it was just like, whoa, just the recording of it's so crisp and the band sounds so tight, gets me moving.
That's funny. It's kind of Time Loves a Hero is sort of where I find most hardcore Little Feat fans, that's sort of their go-to. Is Time Loves a Hero is sort of like the magnum opus for the studio albums. Do you think that's probably your favorite album of Little Feat?
I don't know. It's either that or I really like Down at the Farm too. Yeah, just that's another one. Like it's a very clean studio sounding album. I would probably lean more towards Time Loves a Hero for sure.
My second pick, I'm going to go with sort of like a Lowell anthem in my mind, Roll 'em Easy. Love all the covers of it as well. I noticed recently that there's a new Lowell George tribute album out. Have you seen that on the shelves, Tris?
I got it.
Oh, you got it. Okay. And Ben Harper, I think, does Roll 'em Easy on that one. I was just reading the back of it. How is that album?
There's some really cool versions. Nara George, Lowell George's daughter, does a wicked version of Spanish Moon. Jonathan Wilson, I think he does Willin on it. There's a really weird version of Dixie Chicken. I can't remember who does that one. That one wasn't my favorite. There's a few really good things. A couple things I'm like, they kind of, because a lot of times those tribute albums, everyone does a song and they try to reinvent the version, right? And sometimes it's like you're gonna reinvent the wheel when it comes to like Dixie Chicken.
Roll 'em Easy is also featured on the Brothers of a Feather, the Black Crows tour there. Incredible little tribute to Lowell George. And also loved Roll 'em Easy on, what was that Join the Band album that they did where the Little Feat members collabed with a bunch of current stars and around, I want to say like 2002, 2003.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Great album. Really, I love that album. But anyways, Roll 'em Easy, my second pick, coming with me to the desert island. Incredible lyrics and just a great Lowell performance. Go ahead, Tris.
Third round.
Number 3.
I'm gonna go with what do we got here? Fat Man in the Bathtub.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, just super funky. Gives you that kind of like a New Orleans-y type groove, which I just love. I mean, it's off Dixie Chicken. When it comes down to the version you want to hear, it's the Waiting for the Columbus version. Just like, I mean, basically any song off that's on Waiting for Columbus is like the best version, because I love Time Loves a Hero is probably one of my favorite studio records, but just definitely hands down, if you had to pick up one album to listen to, it would be Waiting for Columbus.
Fully agree. Yeah, 100%. Something else is kind of cool about Little Feat is that, and I mentioned it in my Little Feat episodes, a couple parts of it. Now, Lowell did date Bonnie Raitt for a bit, and you can find some stuff of them playing together, which is fantastic. They do a really great version of "Can't Find Your Way Home" from Blind Faith. Also, did he date not Loretta Lynn? What's her name? Linda Ronstadt.
Yeah.
And she's the one that featured on Mercenary Territory. Is that correct? I think on the studio album.
Yeah, and isn't she on All That You Dream too?
Or sorry, I'm thinking All You Dream. Sorry, All That You Dream.
Yeah.
Also, Jimmy Page in 1975 in Rolling Stones said that Little Feat was his favorite American band. And then I recently read something with Robert Plant talking about how when he first started out in like 69, he in 60 and 70, he had got wise to Lowell George and was trying to emulate his singing style. Look it up. There's an interview. There's an interview with Robert Plant talking about how much he idolized Lowell George as well. In case you're not familiar with these guys, the coolest people on the planet was Led Zeppelin in the 70s, and they're both saying that they're strongly influenced by Little Feat.
There's a funny story. I know I'm not going to get it right, but I know that it's. I was listening to a podcast with Cameron Crowe. I think it's Mark Maron and Cameron Crowe on the WTF podcast. Cameron Crowe's talking about, being on the road with Led Zeppelin. They got a night off, or they're trying to see Little Feat the day before their Led Zeppelin's supposed to play. They're like, oh yeah, let's go check out Little Feat. They're playing in the next town over, and next thing you know, one thing leads to another. I think Jimmy Page almost misses the gig because he's at a Little Feat concert.
Really?
And then I guess Cameron, what was the manager of Led Zeppelin's name?
Oh, that fat guy. I can't remember. I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Anyways, he gave Cameron Crowe a lot of shit and gave him like this impossible task to get these like photos developed for this one article. You have like 2 hours to do this and find a dark room at like what I can't remember what it is, but anyways, he had to. he had,
Damn, man, I want to listen to that. I love Cameron Crowe. That's cool. Okay, yeah, Fat Man in Bathtub was certainly one of the first tracks that got me into Little Feat, the live version on Waiting for Columbus. My third pick, I'm going with Willin', which is actually the song that got me into Little Feat, turned me into a super fan. The first song I kind of connected with was Cold, Cold, Cold off of the same album. Or sorry, not off the same album, but off of Feet Don't Fail Me Now. But then Willin', the version off of Waiting for Columbus, the live version. I couldn't believe how crisp the vocals and guitar were on this. And then I later read that Lowell actually was brought into the studio to overdub. I think it wasn't the greatest performance. So there are some studio, that's why it sounds so incredibly crisp. Some of that album is that Lowell went back in and did it in the studio. Truck Driver Anthem. I thought my dad was going to be totally into this song when I was listening to the first few lines about skipping scales and driving down the road and stuff like that. And then it got to the chorus and it talks about weed, whites, and wine. And one thing my dad's not into are weed, whites, or wine for that matter. So Lowell George, this is a great track, and I really love the live versions of it. Way more than the studio version myself, anyways. And I think that the original, so it's actually on 2 albums. It's on the 2 of the earlier albums. And the original one, Lowell had gotten into a motorcycle accident and broken his hand or had messed up his hand. So he actually got, I believe it's Ry Cooder to come in and play the guitar on the original version of Willin'. Yeah, and also this channel is low on facts, high on opinions, and there's probably a lot of bullshit. So you might want to double check anything that I say.
Round number 4. Round number 4.
I'm gonna go All That You Dream from the last record album. And we were just talking about that was the Linda Ronstadt track. Love that too, man. Super funky, great chorus. You know, kind of a weird sort of little chord change that happens in the verse there. I'll put that on a list and never get sick of it.
That's great song. It was a year or two ago. Me and my wife were down in Victoria driving around, and I had the windows down. I was listening to All That You Dream on volume 11. Some biker pulled up next to me, real big looking dude, just kind of hitting the throttle, and turns over, looks at me, and goes, "I love Little Feat." And then takes off. We're like, yeah, right on. Anyways, yeah, All That You Dream is a great track, cool track. And Linda Ronstadt does the version, and then I think Lowell does the version on Waiting for Columbus, which is also incredible. Up next, my 4th pick, I'm gonna go with Rock and Roll Doctor. Lowell George is the Rock and Roll Doctor. Oh yeah, damn, I just thought of something else I want. Rock and Roll Doctor. If you like country with a boogie beat, he's the man to meet. Anyways, just cool time signatures on all these songs too. What Lowell would do often when he's writing these songs is he would just write a section of the song, recorded onto a cassette, and then later on that night, which could be like 3 days later in Lowell George land, he would write another section of the song, put it on the cassette, record it on the cassette. And oftentimes what happened was he'd have a song and it was about 10 or 12 cassettes long, put them together, give them to the guys to kind of sew the whole thing together. A lot of times the time signatures are completely different, and a lot of it was like a science for the band, for Brer and for the rest of the guys. It's everybody's Payne and Kenny Gradney and the guys. Anyways, they would piece it together in the lab. And that's why a lot of these songs sound sort of kind of disjointed. You find it more in the later stuff, like Down on the Farm and stuff like that, where it's really been handed off kind of thing. Like it's really just kind of Lowell in a cocaine coma for 5 days and writing this
Rock
stuff.
and Roll Doctor is a funny one because it's like, if you just listen to that song, it's like, you put your musician on yours. I mean, like it doesn't sound as hard as it actually is until you actually, sit down and try to figure it out. I tried to do that song once in my band years ago. It's like, so I emailed it to the guys like a few weeks in advance. I'm like, hey, let's learn this song. And I never at that point sat down and listened to it. I just was just like, I'd sing along with it. And, in the car, I'm like, oh, I could sing this one. I can figure out the guitar parts, it'd be fine. And then I sat down with it. And then next thing I know, I'm like 4 or 5 hours later trying to figure out just the math that's going with this tune, because each little verse is so different, and there's all these little weird shots that come up from out of nowhere, and you don't really notice it until you actually sit down and you're like, the hell is going on? And so when it came to rehearsal, I was prepared. I was good. I spent all this time learning this tune. Everyone else in the band had the same sort of thought process as me. But half the band actually sat down and learned it. But the other half of the guys were like, yeah, well, I didn't really listen to it till like about a couple hours before rehearsal, and yeah, I can't do it. I was like, ah!
Absolutely fell in love with this song, and Lowell George is the rock and roll doctor. And my wife and kids actually for Christmas one year got me a Lowell George shirt that says rock and roll doctor across it. And I'm wearing it in the Cake Desert Island playlist episode.
Nice.
Tristan, because I wanted to wear my rock and roll t-shirt that proves that I was there and that I heard of them first. Cake lyrics. Okay, Trist, you're up. Pick number 5.
Fifth round.
I'm going to go put on Easy to Slip from Sailing Shoes, written by Lowell George and Martin Kibbe, or who I think he's collaborated with Lowell George on a bunch of tunes. Apparently it was written after Martin Kibbe's wife left him or something like that. Produced by Ted Templeman. Great first opening track on Sailing Shoes. Always loved it when the needle drops in this one. I mean, I guess the lyrics are a bit of a downer, but it's a really kind of an upbeat song once you listen to it if you don't pay attention to the lyrics. I actually found there's I think Bob Weir covers it. And I listened to I listened to the Bob Weir version, and it's not as good.
Yeah, there's so many tributes to Little Feat too, and a lot of covers. Obviously, Robert Palmer was almost like a member of Little Feat pretty much through the 70s. Absolutely worshiped them. It's amazing how many records I'll pick up and just be glancing at in the store or whatever. And then I noticed just the other day I was looking at, I think it was Terry Allen's record from, God, what year would that have been? I'm not sure what year it was. It was sometime in the 80s anyways. Terry Allen, country writer, he wrote New Delhi Freight Train. He had a tribute song to Lowell George. It's I think it was called "The King of L.A." or the something of L.A. and then it's a tribute to Lowell George. And it's just like glancing at it, no idea that song. I haven't even listened to it yet. I just noticed that the other day. But yeah, a lot of tributes out there to the rock and roll doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my next pick I'm going to take Trouble. Just another one of these Lowell George quiet, pretty tracks. Lowell's just a master. It's a beautiful, pretty song. I would love to have it on my island. Played it a lot for the kids when they're younger. What album's Trouble off, Trist? Is that Sailing Shoes or Dixie Chicken?
I can't remember.
Yeah, doesn't matter. Yeah, I'm going with Trouble. Very pretty, and I really liked as well on the Join the Band version. There's a lady singing it. It might be Emmylou Harris, somebody like that, singing it on that Join the Band album, and it's very pretty as well. Trouble. Trist, you're up.
Round number 6.
I'm gonna go with Red Steamliner Roller. That's like a Bill Payne tune. He wrote with Fran Tate. You know Fran Tate? She's like a big songwriter, wrote on a bunch of people's records. It's got a good kind of mellow sort of 70s funky vibe. Great tune to smoke a joint to.
Yeah.
My favorite version is definitely the I think it's on the deluxe version of Waiting for Columbus.
Okay.
As a bonus track. Yeah, it's super killing.
Sick. You have the deluxe version of Waiting for Columbus?
I bought it on CD years ago.
Okay.
And it has a few extra tracks on it.
It kills me every time. I haven't pulled the trigger on any of the special editions because Little Feat has been rolling out special editions with added demos and stuff like that of all their albums as they turn, I guess, 50. And I haven't bought any yet. I really want to get Waiting for Columbus. I've been listening to the tracks anyways on the streaming services and stuff like that.
Yeah, I got the MoFi Waiting for Columbus.
One thing to mention too about these guys is that it's Lowell, as much as he is like the king of slide guitar and amazing front man, the entire band is incredible. And so Paul Barrere is sort of like the second guitar vocal guy. And then Kenny Gradney on bass is friggin' unreal. Richie Haywood on drums is one of the most underrated drummers of the 70s period. Bill Payne, I believe, is he living on the island, or who was living?
No, it was Richie Hayward. Richie Hayward was on the island.
Okay.
And our friend Graham, the bass player, he was telling me a story when he was just starting to play bass. He ended up being Richie Hayward's, I think he was mowing his lawn or something like that in Courtney. He didn't really know who he was. And then he just kind of was like, oh yeah, I'm actually a drummer. I played in this band called Little Feat. And then, Graham was like, I don't think he really knew who Little Feat was. And then he's like, when he starts playing bass, he's like, yeah, well, come on down to the basement, let's jam. And then so they would play Let It Roll and Dixie Chicken in his bass. He's like, yeah, Richie hated that song, Dixie Chicken, because they played it was just so popular. He said he just called it the chicken. He's like, I hate playing the chicken.
That's hilarious. Wow.
Yeah.
My next pick comes off of Feats Don't Fail Me Now, pick number 6, and the song is Down the Road. I just like it, super funky as hell. A lot of the stuff. Feats Don't Fail Me Now is a really funky record. Uh they're all kind of New Orleans sort of Dixie. Anyways, Down the Road, super funky. I just love Lowell on this one. I love the lyrics, and for a long time it was actually my favorite Little Feat song. It's still probably up there, I'm not sure.
Round 7. Round 7.
Tristan's up next with pick number 7.
I'm going to go with Mercenary Territory from the last record album. But my favorite version is obviously off of Waiting for Columbus. It's a good, funky tune. I think it's something to do with Lowell George splitting up with his wife. I think he wrote this around the time he was sort of going through a rough patch with his wife, and his girlfriend on the road was Linda Ronstadt or something like that. What I love about this tune is the live version and the famous Lenny Pickett sax solo that has that break where he hits that note, and just when he hits that note super high, and just when you thought it was probably the highest note ever, it almost sounds like a dog whistle or something like that. It gets so high, and it just keeps on climbing up. And I remember first hearing that and being like, "Whoa!"
Who is that? Is that Tower of Power?
Yeah, Lenny Pickett. He was from Tower of Power. He's also he's the main sax player on SNL.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
cool.
He's like the leader, the SNL leader.
Yeah, I love that track. Definitely a favorite track, probably off of the last record album. I loaded up a tier list too, Tris. We can kind of quickly do at the end. It has their 70s albums, so we can just kind of talk about them. And the nice thing with Little Feat is probably got about 30 songs, 40 songs that could easily kind of slot in on this list. Nice and easy, just two of us. Okay, my next pick, I'm going with the cover of Terry Allen's New Delhi Freight Train. I didn't know it was a cover of Terry Allen until I got into Terry Allen a couple of years ago. Because of Amarillo Highway, which is one of my absolute favorite country.
I don't know anything about Terry Allen.
Yeah, he's just an old singer-songwriter guy. I guess he was buddies with Lowell George. That record that you bought me at the record store was a Terry Allen record that time for Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
So you actually bought me the only Terry Allen record I own.
There you go.
Thanks, Tristan.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that was also because you got the Chico Hamilton one too, didn't you?
That's right. Yeah, with Lowell George. So. Yeah. Couple Little Feat tie-ins there. Check out the Terry Allen version too if you've never heard that before. I think he does a cool version on Austin City Limits.
Oh.
Okay, Trist, you're up.
Round 8.
This is pick number 8.
What are we going to?
10.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go with Perfect Imperfection from Down on the Farm. It's kind of a good troubled love tune, super funky, nice backbeat. I think is Bonnie Raitt on that one? Is she singing backups on that one?
Yeah.
But yeah, Down to the Farm's an amazing record. There's a great personnel, and I think even Robin Ford plays guitar on some parts of that record. But
really,
yeah.
So Down on the Farm. So I think technically the group, Lowell George had disbanded the group. I'm not sure if he had passed away yet when this came out, but it was right around the time he passed away. I was thinking about this earlier today, and it's that if Lowell didn't disband the group just before he passed away, I think it was like 3 or 4 months before he passed away, and the group was still together when he had passed away, would they have continued writing records through the early 80s? Maybe that's kind of a bit of a
were they touring when he died?
It would have the one before. It would have been Time Loves a Hero, or I think it would have been Down on the Farm. No,
yeah.
Because I think those are the last two: Time Loves a Hero and then Down on the Farm.
Who is it? I can't remember who was in the band. Maybe it been like Fred Tackett or something like that. Said that it was the pepperoni pizza that killed him.
I think his book is called Willin', the Lowell George book that I read years ago, and I actually gave it to your dad, and I've never seen it again. But
you probably never read it.
Well, he was having a hard time seeing at the time. He told me, he's like, I can't fucking read this shit. I'm like, oh, God damn it, I should grab that back. Anyways, yeah, it talked a bit about that in there, just about Lowell's lifestyle towards the end. Like I said, he had like a portable studio in the back of a van, or maybe it was a camper van or something like that, and he would spend days and days and days in there on the LA's finest yayo, and writing some amazing tracks. Cheese balls, that's cocaine and cheese. Okay, my next pick I'm going with is also off of Down on the Farm, and there's a lot of great tracks on that album for me too. I'm going with Kokomo. Slick, slick guitar playing, slick all around. And Down on the Farm has contributions from the whole band. And some of the best songs are not written by Lowell George on this album, and which is very cool. And I'm the same with you, Tris. I just love the production. I love the way this album sounds. It sounds different than the rest of them. It's so tragic that this is their last studio album because they were really on a roll. So Kokomo, and obviously the tie-in. Kokomo was a big Beach Boys track when I was younger. And so to get me thinking about all the different desert islands that are featured in that song as well. And Kokomo. Go ahead, Trust. Yeah, so that's your second last pick.
It's round 9. It's round 9.
I feel like I got to give like some later Little Feat some love, and there's a bunch of them. But I'm gonna pick "Hate to Lose You Lovin'" from "Let It Roll." Love the drums in that tune. Good Paul Barrere written song. I really dig that '80s Little Feat with like "Let It Roll" and the last Mambo record. I think that record was like even 1990 or something like that. It's got that good like '80s. Big reverby, slick production. Like it could almost be like on the soundtrack of like Roadhouse or something.
When you could first pick songs to have as your ringtone on cell phones before iPhones, the only Little Feat song that was available was "Let It Roll."
Oh yeah.
And that's actually like, and I wasn't even really, that song was not even on my radar. I was only the Lowell years at the time. And I remember just like letting my phone ring and listening to it for long.
Oh man, that groove that Richie Hayward plays on that tune is so good. I remember I saw Little Feat probably, I've seen them, I don't know, about 4 or 5 times. And I saw them with Richie Hayward, a couple times before he passed away, when they played "Let It Roll" like as an encore or something like that. I remember just seeing them play live, and like the thing that really stood out for me was just like watching Richie Hayward drum, and just like his volume on like his stage volume was just massive, so good. And when they played that tune, it was just like whoa. So
my second last pick, I'm going with another kind of island groover. You can find this one on Hoi Hoi. I'm going with China White. The whole Hoi Hoi, I believe, came out in 81, somewhere in there.
That's like a best of type thing, right?
It's sort of a compilation album, but it does have a couple other tracks on there too, some live versions of songs, stuff like that. This is a studio cut of China White. I don't know if China White's a cover song or not. I'm not sure. I feel like it's a Lowell song, but it had a feel of a song that's been around forever. Yeah, just a cool little hook. And I love there's an interview of Lowell George floating around on the internet where he's getting interviewed, I believe, in Germany, and they're asking about how he uses a socket for his slide because you can buy them anywhere. Yeah. And also they're like, well, you want to demonstrate that a little bit? And he was sort of showing like how Ry Cooder's style and then his own style, and then they get into China White, and it's just friggin' incredible. Sam Clayton, is that his name? Yeah, Sam Clayton. It's the guy doing the bongos. He's got a real deep baritone voice. In the background on all those harmonies and stuff, and it sounds incredible, especially on that track. We're going with China White.
Nice.
Last pick, round 10.
Your last song for your desert island, Trist. You only get one more song forever.
I have so many on here. What do I pick? I think I'm gonna go with "Long Distance Love."
Great.
Yeah, it's just a sweet song, man. I don't really have much else to say other than that.
What album is "Long Distance Love" off?
Let me just double check here.
Time Was Zero. Nope. No, never remember what album anything's off of. I got into Little Feat. Oh, it's on
last record album.
Last song on the last record album.
Good ballad. If I had to, there had a bunch of tunes on here, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go with that one.
Good pick. And my last pick on my desert island, I'm going with is "Rocket in My Pocket." "Rocket in My Pocket" studio track. One of my favorite Little Feat studio tracks. I kind of prefer the studio stuff more than the live on this one, or I prefer it without the horns personally.
Oh yeah. I'm kind of the opposite. I love the live version of the Waiting for Columbus version.
Got a rocket in my pocket. My father-in-law always singing a song. Kind of funny. Kicks ass. Little Feat kicks ass. Thanks. Tristan's dad was obsessed with Little Feat. I think that when you look at the photos of your dad back in the 70s, I swear to God, he's trying to be Lowell George. Like he's got the overalls on, the beard. He kind of looks a little bit like him. When I finally did get into Little Feat, I went over to your folks' house there, and I remember sitting on the deck and your dad playing me every Little Feat record in a row, getting pretty sauced by the end of it. By the end of it, he promised me all the Little Feat records in his will.
All the time.
And Joe gets all my Little Feat records. Anyways, it was a great time. Thanks, Dan. I want to try something quick here, Tris, and it will be quick. Can you see that?
Yeah.
All right. So I just want to kind of quickly, this is a tier list for the albums. We always talk about the songs in these Desert Island playlists. I just want to quickly kind of do a quick tier list with Trist and our love for the albums, or kind of where they kind of rank. I put it at 5, 4, and 3 stars. I mean, they're all incredible albums. We love them all, start to finish. But this is just kind of comparing them to other Little Feat records.
Yeah.
The debut, Trist, where would you kind of put that?
I mean, it's a great record. It's probably the one I know the least.
Yeah, me too. I think that I would honestly probably it's probably somewhere in here. It's a little less polished as well.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that Ry Cooder, like I said, plays the version of Willin' on that album. The last record album, well, we got a few songs off it on this ranking. Thoughts on that one?
I give it 5.
Trista got at 5. Okay, so we're gonna kind of compromise and go with 4. It's not one of my peak ones. We can talk about
give them all 5. I'm just
I think we both talked about it enough in the episode that we both have Down on the Farm at an easy 5. Now, Hoy Hoy, I definitely don't have it a 5. So
no.
We 4 or 3, just because it's not really it is just a compilation.
Yeah,
so,
I just put it as 3.
Yeah, we'll do that. Talked about this one quite a few times. This is Waiting for Columbus. Yeah, their top selling album as far as I know. And honestly, like top on the Rushmore of live albums for me, anyways.
Yeah.
Love. Which was this one? Sailing Shoes.
Yeah, I mean, I put Sailing Shoes at a 4 for me.
Sailing Shoes at a 4. Okay, there you go. Yeah, for me, it's probably a 5. Now, which one came first? Sailing Shoes came before Dixie Chicken or after? Okay,
I think so. Yeah,
Dixie Chicken.
5.
5 all day long. Feet don't fail me now.
5.
Yeah, 5 all day long. Old Land is another song that we didn't bring up from that. The Fan. There's a bunch of
the Fan was on my list.
Yeah, like really rocking tune, and you got that live one too. What's that album? The KRP, the radio one.
Yeah, it's great. I almost like that one better than Wait for Columbus when I heard it. Like, it's really good.
So that was actually that recording was available on the interweb when I was first getting into Little Feat. That was kind of that was another really important album for me. But I don't have it on wax. It's available on vinyl. Yeah. And Tris, we got to put that up there.
Yeah, I also had Day of the Dog Races on my list there too.
Day of the Dog Races. Oh, okay. So this is another part of Little Feat. Is there sort of a division within the band? Is that Paul Barrere or was it Payne who was more writing those songs?
I think I can't remember, but I just know that there's like whenever you see like them play it live, Lowell George would just like walk off stage.
Yeah, he's just not into that sound. And that's the thing with Little Feat for me. Like, I'm really heavy on the Lowell George sound stuff. So the Day of the Dog Races would not be anywhere close to mine.
But there's also that really cool tune, The Fan.
The Fan's incredible.
Yeah, which almost has like kind of a Zappa fusiony type of vibe. But Lowell George sings that one, I think.
Yeah, The Fan's another great one off of that. What were some other ones that kind of just missed for you?
Texas Twister was a good 90s one.
Yeah, that was a big hit.
Super catchy.
Keeping Up with the Joneses, I really like. Off of Time Loves a Hero. Fool Yourself.
Be One Now was one for me as well. That was a good one.
Yeah, 6 Feet of Snow is another great one. And the title track, Down on the Farm. So that's our Desert Island playlist for Little Feat. Greatest band that you've likely never heard of. They never really got super famous. I double checked that they were not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Really?
Yeah, they're not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Oh, that's weird.
That's fucked up.
Yeah.
Anyways, I don't think they are. Anyways, I was looking at that and there was just a bunch of things about how they should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Little Feat, for me, probably the greatest band that's not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that I can think of. Such an influential band. Great guys. Remember to check out the channel. There's lots of other stuff here on the channel. Check out Tristan and the Tristones here in New York City. You got any shows coming up soon, Tris?
Playing tonight with Milo Z.
Tristan coming to us from downtown New York there, so you can hear the constant sirens in the background.
Yeah.
Check out Tristan's album Camaro.
I don't even hear those anymore.
What's that?
Sirens in the background. They're just like kind of constantly all the time. Like I wouldn't even have thought of that.
Little Feat, ranks very, very high on our all-timers greatest band. And so yeah. And thank you to Tristan and to his dad for pushing this band on me, and it became an absolute obsession. If you're into the band, I mean, there's so many different bands that kind of take off from this sound, this sort of Southern blues rock.
Yeah, you're
sound.
Like Southern rock, like Allman Brothers and the band, just in the Dead or something like that. But I don't know, hands down, out of all those bands, musicianship, I don't think anyone can really hold a candle against Little Feat. Yeah, they were a musician's band, but their tunes are great, so they're kind of an anyone's band. But they just, and you listen to their live shows, like that late '70s period when you hear those live recordings, like Waiting for Columbus. It's like I don't think they ever sounded any better than that. Really, a lot of creativity, great musicianship, great energy. The last time I saw them, I saw the 50th anniversary of like the 50th anniversary Little Feat tour. So that would have been 2019.
Yeah.
At the Beacon Theater, and they had the Ramble, the Midnight Ramble band, open up for them.
Cool.
And so they came on, and so they played, and they're doing like a bunch of band tunes with, I think, Amy Helm was singing with them, and then Little Feat did their set, which was killer, and then the encore was just like the Ramble band got up with them and did like a whole other set. It was amazing. And I think Paul Barrere died like shortly after that. Like that was, I think that tour might have been his last tour.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Right around 2020, I think.
Yeah. And it was killing. And then also I saw them like probably 2000. I think the time before that was like 2017 at Peach Fest, and it was like they were doing. They just did Waiting for Columbus front to back with members of Mo and Turquoise horn section. It's always a good show. I haven't seen the new version of the band live with that guy Scott Sherrard playing guitar with them, but he's a great guitar player. I'm sure it's a good show.
I would love to go. Well, yeah, I'd love to get in a time machine and go see them in 1975. Sorry, I'm a little low on facts, high on opinions. Thanks again, Trist. Our desert islands are stacked with great Little Feat tracks, and we'll catch you on the next one. Be out.
All right, see ya.